Welcome back to this Money Control live stream. You're watching Closing Bell with me, Nandita Khemka.
And I'm Yatin Mota.
Well, Yatin, clearly no Monday blues for Dalal Street.
Yeah.
We saw the Nifty reclaim that 18,300 mark to clock in a triple-digit up move. The Sensex also moved somewhere around 200 points. And what's aiding the rally, of course, the metals basket. It was shining bright and how it was up somewhere around 3%, and most of it, of course, was contributed by the Adani Enterprise share, which was up in excess of 15% in today's session. And you had IT. That pack also did pretty well with the likes of TCS, Infosys among the top Nifty gainers. You had the pharma basket also doing pretty well. But on the flip side, the banks were, one pocket that weren't really participating in today's up move. As I mentioned, top Nifty gainers, Adani Enterprises, you had Adani Ports, you had Divi's Lab, of course, on the sanguine management commentary, this stock rallied somewhere around 5% despite a mixed set of numbers. And you had TCS after winning that order from BSNL, which was worth 15,000 crore rupees. Nifty losers, Hero Motocorp, Nestle, Eicher Motors, Axis Bank. As I mentioned, ICICI Bank was also among the top losers on the Nifty. A lot of mid-cap movers in today's session. Yatin, would you like to take us through some of them?
Absolutely. And, today, apart from Adani Enterprises, Adani Group companies were up in trade today. We had Adani Wilmar Nandita. That stock was up nearly 10%. Adani Power shares up 5%, and in general the Adani Group stocks, including Adani Ports, that pack was entirely doing well. What was not doing well is Gland Pharma. Today Morgan Stanley also downgraded the stock. After results, the stock was down 20%, and today the stock is down another 16%. So watch out for that one. Siemens, obviously there were reasons because they sold their motors business to Siemens AG, which is the parent, for a consideration of 2,100 crores. That transaction is pending, but they announced it, and post that because of the valuation concerns, the stock is down nearly 10%, losing market cap of nearly 15,000 crores. And we also had Burger King. That stock was down nearly 7% in trade today.
All right, so those were the mid-cap movers in today's session. But, on that note, let's take a look at some of the stocks that are on our radar this afternoon, starting with Divi's Lab. Now, this share, in fact, was up somewhere around 5% or thereabouts, despite the fact that the, earnings weren't all that enthusing. Even though margins on a quarter-on-quarter expanded, and that is something that the street took heart from, aside of the sanguine management commentary that came in. The management has said that it expects gross margins to recover towards the year end, and this is what is something that supported sentiment when it comes to Divi's Labs. When it comes to the street view, Jefferies has upgraded the stock. In fact, target price is raised by over 40%. Above that 4,000 rupee mark, and Jefferies believes that the company should achieve mid to high teens revenue growth from the second quarter onwards. The street took heart from this as well. But aside of that, Elara has a sell rating on the stock with a target price of somewhere around 1980 rupees. It believes that the valuations may not sustain given the kind of growth trajectory and cash flows that the company is sitting on. If you look at the stock, PE ratio of somewhere around 46.3, it is higher than the industry average of 44.3 or thereabouts. So the stock does look a bit expensive. Even though the company is debt free, the return ratios are pretty healthy in the range of 15 to 22% or thereabouts. If you look at the holdings, the holding pattern, MF domestic mutual funds have increased stake by somewhere around 0.5% in the last quarter, but foreign investors have pared their stake in the last quarter. So all in all, the future trajectory for the stock will depend on how soon the company stages a recovery when it comes to its margins and revenue growth, as the management has suggested, but we'll have to wait and watch as to how this company fares in the coming
but this time I think Divi's were quite clear in guidance. I think last quarter and the quarter before that, they were refraining from giving a clear guidance as to where the margin trajectory moves, how the product prices move. But this time they were confident that probably by year end or in the medium term, they do expect the margins to recover, and also the business growth will be seen strongly. So that is one stock obviously which is on the radar, 4% up for Divi's when it closed. But what was not doing well in today's trading session was Glenmark Pharma. Keeping it with Pharma, today Nomura obviously has a buy call on this one with a target of 633, but there were a few negative surprises on the result. Number one, the net debt remained at elevated levels. Debt for Glenmark has been a major concern, and that really didn't move the needle this time. Also, if you look at the sales, they were flattish. EBITDA, if you look at the guidance, it was slightly better But yes, there is some concern with related to net debt, because of which probably the stock was looking at some pressure. And also Nomura says significant rise in working capital as well as net debt are some key concern areas, and if there is a reduction in the net debt profile, analysts do believe then there could be some re-rating or some upside in the stock. But till then the stock has been running up, but today saw some profit taking post the results.
Yeah, Yatin, even if you look at the PE ratios and all, it's a little more expensive compared to the top three, Sun, Cipla and, Dr. Reddy's. In fact, the return ratios have also been muted, to say the least. And, Street also believes that the margin recovery would be a little slow.
Correct.
Because of which, the view on this stock is a little, on the negative side right now. Well, the second stock on my list today is Balaji Amines. It's a mid-cap specialty chemical stock. In general, the mood towards specialty chemical stocks are pretty upbeat, given the fact that, India is a beneficiary of China +1 as well, and which is why a lot of analysts were, betting on some of these specialty company stocks. But earnings-wise, the likes of Deepak Nitrite, SRF, now Balaji Amines have not really done much when it comes to the quarterly performance. There has been a fall in margins, and the company is attributing that degrowth in margins to weakness in pharma API as well as agro sector. But it does say that, it may return to pre-COVID levels in due course. So it hasn't really given a clear guidance as to when they will return to the growth trajectory. But the management says that revenues from newly commenced units will start contributing towards revenue pretty soon, and which would cushion the fall in margins and the weak performance that it has seen in the current quarter. And it believes that the API industry globally will also start recovering, and it's betting on that for a recovery in its margins and revenues. But the other big news was the CFO as well as 4 independent directors of the company had resigned. Now, there was a lot of concern regarding this, but then the management did come on CNBC TV 18 and clarify that the independent directors have resigned to comply with SEBI regulations. Now, SEBI does not allow independent directors to continue, over 2 terms, 5-year terms. Over that, the SEBI does not allow independent directors to continue, and these independent directors had already done 2 terms of 5 years each, which is why they have resigned. And they have also appointed Srinivas Reddy as the CFO of the company. So, and the company has also clarified that there will be no further resignations, and the resignations will not have any impact on the growth trajectory of the company. Correct. Which is why the stock actually recovered from the lows of the day and was down somewhere around 9% when I last checked. And if you look at the stock, PE at 19.1x, it's lower than the sector average of 47.8, and the company is debt free, and return on equity has been pretty strong, above 20%. So that way the stock is looking pretty okay, but obviously much will depend on how soon the company stages a recovery in its margins and revenues. But if you look at the holding patterns, both FIIs and DIIs have increased their stake in the counter in the previous quarter. But the stock, if I may say so, is down nearly 30% over the last 1 year.
Absolutely. So that is one stock to focus on. But today there was a surprise move in the small cap space. So Suzlon, that stock was up 10% on the back of strong order wins which have been there in the last 3 to 4 trading sessions. In fact, today they have won a 200 megawatt order from Serentica Renewables. Few days before they had won cumulative orders of over 150 megawatts from various companies like Nordic Energy Company, Kumaraswamy Mineral Exports, as well as Vibrant Energy. So the order book has been growing steadily. And also if you look at the O&M business, which is the maintenance business, there also we are looking at some good traction which could probably boost earnings. Obviously there was a past issue of leverage on the balance sheet, probably higher interest costs, and bad acquisitions had an impact on the overall stock price performance. But I think post the rights issue, the company has received ample liquidity to manage its debts as well as the operations. So let's see how really the operational results from here on move in. Because so far the order wins has been quite decent.
Yeah, I think over the last few months it has been consistently winning orders, and the stock performance has been pretty good, at least when it comes to this year, and it's closely, in fact it's gradually moving towards the double digit mark, and it's eyeing that 12.5 level, which is a 52-week high for the stock. Well, with that, I think we have come to the end of this edition of Closing Bell. Those were the stocks on our radar this afternoon. But you keep following Money Control for all your latest news and updates. I'll be back with the markets at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow. Till then, have a good evening. Thanks a lot for watching. ट्रेंड लाइन सब निकाल के हाँ ट्रेंड लाइन भी अच्छा है यार